go into Trump says he wants an investigation of Pelosi. And then we've got Senator Hawley with his legislation to ban congressional stock trading. And they go, well, we won't get the best people if they're not allowed to be involved in stock trading. Well, I thought you're like public servants. And if they hadn't engaged in so much of this corruption, this wouldn't have to happen. And even some of the Republicans I generally like say, well, we have rights to, have stock. I mean, yeah, but you've abused that. How do people go to Congress worth $500,000 and 5 years later they're worth $20 million, like AOC? Or Pelosi goes to Congress worth nothing and is now worth hundreds of millions. I mean, her husband, billions. No, I mean, they don't just insider trade. Let me explain. They know they've got the votes to say, give $50 million, in one case it was more than that, to biotech and genetic engineering research. And the most of it's going to be allotted to California companies. And then Pelosi and her husband go buy the stock in the damn thing a week before they pass it. Remember that? This isn't just knowing something's about to happen, so the stock goes up and you knew about it and you go make money. No, they're making the decisions that send the money to it to happen. And, Kash Patel has referred the judge whose daughter made millions of dollars off the case. I mean, it's obviously totally illegal. Why do we need to refer that to Congress for subpoenas? Why doesn't a grand jury subpoena that judge and his daughter? You got some of the other judges where his wife and daughter run the NGOs, and there was a Rhode Island judge, where then he unfroze tens of millions of dollars this year to himself. Go get a grand jury, go show them that, indict them. They're going to prison. You talk about conflict of interest, and it goes on and on and on. They found trillions of dollars stolen the last 4 years by the NGOs. Trillions. And they've had, there's been a few hundred prosecutions I've seen of mid-level and low-level, and maybe they're working up the chain, but this is like shooting fish in a barrel. And I'm seeing more action than I saw in the first Trump administration, but still, I saw no action against the bureaucratic deep state then. We're seeing a lot compared to that, but that's still not a lot. I mean, 90-something billion dollars, $92 billion, while President Trump was president-elect in 76 days, stolen out of the Department of Energy. In most cases, no paperwork, just given to their families and buddies. Meanwhile, they've been trying to put me in prison with these court cases, civil cases, trying to find something in there. And they run headlines, he'll go to prison, hundreds of millions stolen, blah, blah, blah. All complete cuckoo lies. So they got all the time and all the grand juries and all the energy and all the stuff to haul me up and down. And I guess there's still some freedom in America. I guess, it's a testament that I didn't get indicted all those times I tried. Well, I did once reportedly in D.C., but Merrick Garland thought it was too obvious, so they dropped it, according to the Washington Post. Imagine them trying to put me in jail like Owen when I'm up on the, Owen did the same thing. I'm up on the thing saying, don't go in the building. That was in the Washington Post. Garland saw that and said, that's too much, guys. But they had it. A D.C. grand jury will indict a ham sandwich if they're told to. So they've had free reign. They think they're invincible. They think it just goes on forever. And they're going to destroy this country because we're bankrupt if we don't turn this around. And right at the last moment, at the 11th hour, Trump's doing it. And you can't deny he's been successful on his trade, energy, and tax policies. And they're exactly what I would do and exactly what the most respected economists that are patriots would do. And he's doing a splendid job. And I will not be an ingrate and then not point that out. But I will also, coming up, More Epstein cover-up behavior. And we have the Democrats dead to rights with Epstein. But for whatever reason, Trump's covering it up. And he said, oh, release it, but then... and we know why. The CIA and Mossad ran it. It was just as much CIA as Mossad, the more we learned. And they're just like, Mr. President, you got to protect national security. We're not doing it anymore, but this is what... And then he's like, I shut it down for you assholes, and now you've stuck me in there? That's why he's pissed. That's what it is. He's like, okay, we're covering it up for the good of the stock market. That's how the thinking is. I'm not defending that. And then they put recycled bull in there, which I predicted, now we know. And that's why he's so angry. Well, of course, Mr. President, you're a frog. They're a scorpion. They ask for a ride. You get across, they sting you. You say, why'd you do that? Because I'm a scorpion. You say you didn't know what was going on 8 years ago, and I knew that. You say you've woken up and you've learned, and you have learned a lot. But have you not learned to put a scorpion on your back, Mr. President? Well, it said it wouldn't sting me. Okay, well, did it? Release it all. Destroy them. Burn it all down. Let's go. My instincts, my will, my soul, and my political analysis says that's victory. Attack, release the hounds of war, cry havoc, do it. Let's go. Let's go. Go ahead and play the clips. Here it is.
Yeah, it was. But let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
Yeah, but I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the stop the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that have been made over time. I'm not into it. My husband is, but it isn't anything to do with anything insider. But the president has his own exposure, so he's always projecting. He's always projecting. And let's not give him any more time on that, please. We're going forward here, and I'm very proud of my family. And while he might make fun of us, while somebody inspired by him breaks into our home and hits my husband in a deadly fashion, hits my husband over the head, and he thinks that's a riot, I'd rather not go into some of my other complaints about him right now, rather to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid.
I like it conceptually, and, you know, Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. So in that sense, I'd like it, but I'd have to really see I study these things very carefully, and this just happened. So I'll take a look at it. But conceptually, I like it. And what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated, because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street, save a few. How did that happen? It happened by she knows exactly what's going to happen, what's going to be announced. She buys stock, and then the stock goes up after the announcement's made. And she ought to be investigated.
I had a good chat with the president earlier this evening, and he reiterated to me he wants to see a ban on stock trading by people like Nancy Pelosi and members of Congress, which is what we passed today. I think it is absolutely vital we put a stop to this. Pelosi shouldn't just be investigated. She should be prosecuted. And we need to make what she is doing and other members of Congress is doing illegal. I mean, you shouldn't be able to go up to Congress and get rich by trading on information that only you have and not members of the public. Right now, lots of members of Congress are getting by with it. We need to make the whole thing illegal.
So when you spoke to the president, did he explain why he called you second tier?
Well, I think that the president, a number of people who are opposed to banning stock trading had said to the president that he would be covered by the bill. He'd have to sell Mar-a-Lago and sell assets. Not the case at all. The president and the vice president, all their assets are totally exempted. And here's the point. This is what we talked about. The point of this bill is to ban members of Congress from trading on the information that only they have. I've supported this bill for years, Jesse. I think we call it the Pelosi Act. It is named for her because she is the poster child of this kind of behavior. It ought to be illegal and it ought to be prosecutable.
Absolutely. There's so many examples of her. It's cut and dry. All right, we're going to start the next hour with the new Epstein news, Internet ID news, all of it. There's so much to get to here today. All right, Owen Benjamin, talk show host, comedian, very informative, interesting guy, is joining us in the third hour today. I have a lot of news that I want to hit this hour and a lot of key clips, but I also want to get more calls on the show. It was really great taking calls yesterday during my regular show, during the debate with Nick Fuentes. And I want to, with some overhang of that now, ask callers to call in, intersperse the news on this one topic. Do you think we should turn against Trump and not support him, like Nick Fuentes says? Or do you think we should grade Trump where he's good, grade him where he's bad, put pressure on him when bad decisions are being made, and be very thankful that so much good is happening? I don't think that that's even a debate. I think I'm right. But I understand purist views that say, no, we need to just demand, perfection. Well, you're not going to get that. Though you do need to put pressure on Trump when different people in his administration, not even so much the department heads, not even so much the cabinet, but the chiefs of staff and people like that are these lobbyists that we just continue to track back bad things that are happening to them. And if you talk bad about Susie Wiles, you don't get any access to the White House. I don't care. I've already been invited to the White House, didn't go. It's not because I'm shunning it or I'm too cool for school. I just understand what it is. And I don't even want to get around the Ring of Mordor. It's just this instinctive thing that I operate on my own and with my crew and with the listeners, and I organically have their support, and it's just combat model, optimum self-sufficiency, to quote Blade Runner. And when I say that, it's just I instinctively go with total independence. But there is no such thing as independence. I couldn't do it without the listeners and viewers. And I just realized that I did a 30-second plug before I come back and hit all the news and give the number out, that's not going to pay the bills around here. We're in the black, barely, as usual. And sometimes we're in the red. And we have so much success happening in court. It would take hours to go into all of it. I spent hours this morning with lawyers and others about strategic operations and backup systems and what we're doing, and very exciting announcements that are coming, and just so much. And it takes a lot of brain power, a lot of focus, a lot of will, which I'm happy to do. But I want this to sink into everybody's gray matter. If you like the success we've had here, you need to look at the mirror and say thank you to yourself. And that's not me patting you on the head. You need to have it sink into your brain, to your heart, your soul, your guts, your sinew, that you have the word of mouth, the power of prayer, and the power to support us financially. And all right, let's start plowing through the news. Ahead of Owen Benjamin joining us. Also want to open the phones up and put about 10 calls on the board. Now we will get to them all. On Trump. Do we, because of some of the sideways stuff we've seen and the Epstein stuff, abandon Trump? Well, then what's the alternative? Support the Democrats? Or do we back Trump on what he's doing is good and put pressure on his administration when things go wrong? That's obviously the answer. But that was what the debate was last night with Nick Fuentes. So the toll-free number to join us is 877-789-2539, 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-2539. First-time callers on that subject. And then after Benjamin leaves us, I'll open the phones up again and have some more callers. But here is Tampon Tim. Here it is.
Yeah, Governor Tim Walz signed the driver's license for all bill into law. This will allow all Minnesotans to get a driver's license regardless of immigration status.
Instead of actually changing the politician, what they actually do is they just want to change the voter. And by allowing illegal immigrants to have an ID, that's flat out un-American. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to flood our market with all these illegal voters, given what we've seen over the course of the past year with their inability to have free and fair elections. And it's just going to be their response to it, to allow millions of people to have an ID. And quite frankly, to the tax-paying American and the everyday American, this is absolutely disgusting, outrageous, because these tone-deaf policies are what the world are watching right now. They aren't listening, and quite frankly, we're fed up with it.
And that was about 11 months ago. The reason I played it, though, is just to remember what we're dealing with. And to understand, with all these Soros DAs in charge, we can't even get people prosecuted that shoot innocent people in downtown Austin. And you know Jose Garza and people like that, the Soros DA here, they know they're destabilizing things. They know they're getting innocent people killed. They like it. Because they want to bring the whole system down so they're fully in control. I'm going to go to break. I'm going to come back. The DOJ, the CIA, and the Director of National Intelligence said last week they'd be releasing the Durham classified appendix of the Durham whitewash. The classified Durham appendix shows Hillary Clinton personally approved Trump's Russia hoax and used FBI to, quote, put more oil on the fire. That's their own internal Democrat Party documents. But they're throwing Hillary under the bus. If you follow all of it, Obama came up with it with Brennan, Clapper, and Comey. They then came up with the plan and then used the DNC. The FBI also funded part of the Steele dossier. And then they had it through the Democratic Party. So they're now throwing her under the bus, just like they did in their cover stories 2017 when they had handwritten notes, Brennan, Clapper, the rest of them, with Obama and others saying, oh, yes, we're worried Hillary did this. We have to cover it up coming out. But, oh, Hillary did it. No, Hillary was working under Obama because he'd served his 2 terms. She was drinking heavily, taking barbiturates, taking painkillers, taking tranquilizers. That's all been declassified. We can tell you that. I told you that from our Secret Service sources. Having convulsions. And she was their front puppet. And so you got to love the rats leaving the sinking ship. Senator Chuck Grassley Thursday released the newly declassified annex from former special counsel John Brennan's report. The Durham annex contains previously classified information exposing a reported Clinton campaign plan to falsify and lie about President Trump to Russia. Grassley said, again, the Durham annex contains previously classified information exposing a reported Clinton campaign plan to falsely tie President Trump to Russia. Grassley said, recall that it was just reported that FBI Director Kash Patel recently found the annex to the Durham report in a burn bag at the FBI. These lazy people, man. According to the newly declassified documents, Hillary Clinton personally approved the Trump-era hoax just a few days before the FBI counterintelligence agent Peter Strzok opened Crossfire Hurricane on July 31st, 2016, to distract from her private server scandal and to have an insurance policy against Trump. Remember that in the text? Hillary used the bogus dossier and conspired with foreigners and the FBI to spy on Trump's 2016 campaign. I mean, this is total treason. And all they did, and they tried to put me in prison with this crap. They sent the CIA after me. I'm not going to get back into it. It's just unbelievable the crap we put up with. And if they don't go to prison for this, they'll just be 10 times more emboldened. Now, I want to go to your calls now. But I'm going to get into this with Owen Benjamin coming up.
God bless you, Alex. First time, long time. Love your products, and I'm a member of your store.
Thank you.
In regards to that Nick debate, I voted Trump 3 times. It's the only times I've ever voted ever. I only voted Trump the 3rd time because of the Democrats. I have a big anti-vax Trump stance. It's his crown jewel that will kill millions. I think he's going to be fooled again. I don't think fighting Trump would really get us anywhere. He already said, hey, if you don't want to follow me, oh well, something like that. So we can support him and challenge him as needed, but I have a lot of questions. What about AI, digital ID, Israel? And there's more. And back to Trump vaccine crown jewel, I just don't trust the people directing him, behind him. I feel something's off. I want 1776. I want arrest. I want more than economic change. I want arrest, real change. Does that make sense?
I couldn't say it as good as you said it. Yeah, we're not going to throw the baby out of the bathwater when he's doing good policies, and a lot of it's really good. We're going to support it. But the magic's lost. We're hurt. The direction's starting to change. And so we shouldn't take our ball and go home. We should get on his ass and hold his feet to the fire and flamethrow, nonviolently, politically, the bad guys around him. And we need to start throwing our weight around.
Amen. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Yeah, if people want to know what I've been doing the last 25 days in this exploded controversy with the Epstein thing, I've been throwing my weight around. I mean, I was cheerleading the first 6 months because overall it was amazing. But then I started seeing this veering off, and we're going to keep fluoride in the water, and mRNA shots get approved, and we learned it was behind the scenes stuff. I know that, so I'm going, hey, you got a problem in your administration. A lot of people going, you're just being a cheerleader. I'm like, no, Mom, yeah, this is overall good. But I told you, as soon as I got it, started seeing bad stuff, I'm going to go crazy. And it's all just my own thought process. I don't claim to have all the answers. Let's go to Chad, Minnesota. Chad, thanks for calling.
Ditto, Alex. Yeah, this whole thing is getting to the point where, this is crunch time. I've had several conversations about Trump with this term, if he did get in, and he's in. And I agree exactly as to what you said. The synergistic value was palpable when the first 5-6 months, and then it just all of a sudden on a dime, it just got yanked. And the mandate is...
Well, let's say it. As soon as Elon was kicked out, things started going downhill.
Absolutely. And then now what does that do? That just creates a whole nother thing of chaos. And then who do you trust? And we all know that there are operatives that maybe not the big names, but obviously below. And that's always been the thing. And here's what I see it as. COVID still has not been clarified on a level to we the people with the truth. So if we continue to do that, that's going to make things difficult. The biggest one, number one, in my opinion, and it's the toughest one, but we need to lean back in on Trump, quadruple down and say, listen, the CIA, Mossad, intelligence, MI6, that is the biggest thing to get over because it's, well, if we release all that information, it's going to be a matter of national security. Well, national security is what you're holding us hostage to say, okay, well, if we get this released, well, then we're going to do...
Well, that's right. The real national security is breaking up the CIA. It's been the globalist coup since 47. When they say national security, no, they mean the security of their criminal operation.
Absolutely. And that's and we're held hostage because of that. And if now let's just go beyond Trump now when he's done and he serves his term. Now they hit him up on the tail end of his first term with COVID. And now they hit him up front, which it's obvious. It's like you said, that just in 6 months, all of a sudden, boom, now all of a sudden you got Sam Altman in there and this AI thing, and you've nailed it with AI. AI is the next part that if we don't get truth out there, if we don't get people held accountable, and the truth does, we don't get enough people to understand, like we need a big time release of information and getting all the other guys, Comey, Obama, all that stuff, that's great, and I'm not against that, but that's Fox, TikTok, it's coming. Oh, and then it gets the mega normies that have, attached themselves back onto this, and then it creates a whole thing. And after Trump, is there people who they have think tanks? they're going to kill us with 1,000 cuts, right? And we are never prepared because we don't, like Bill Benny, get him involved. He can open up the NSA, like insert him into it. Get people that know what they're doing.
That's right. We have a giant transhumanist, eugenicist, globalist death cult running the system. The system's anti-human. It's anti-prosperity. It must be dismantled. It must be, because it is all designed to end industrial civilization. That is their official plan. Thanks for the call. Amazing points. Amazing callers today. Susan in Texas, thank you so much for calling.
Good afternoon. Well, I just have to say the following. I was born in Germany. I lived in France for a long time. What's happening in Europe is an absolute nightmare. It's unbelievable what they're doing. I've been in Texas now for over 32 years, and we do not want that ever, ever, ever in the States. So whether or not we should support Trump, it's a pretty clear yes, because the question is not Democrat, Republican. The question is simply who politics are aimed to destroy a nation and its people and whose are not. And Trump is not acting against his country. And that's the best we got right now. That's what we need right now. So
I 100% agree. Just securing the border, just promoting sovereignty, taking back control of our trade deals, and getting us out of globalist think tanks. Trump means well. He is trying to get sovereignty back. I believe he is a good man. He's overwhelmed. He's made some big mistakes. And that means we can't have the Republican establishment pose as MAGA when we're against an Iran war or whatever and say we need to shut up. No, we got Trump in, and now it's time for us to throw our weight around and to make sure the agenda we put him in there for continues.
And the biggest mistake right now would be to get away from him and say, no. Nick Fuentes is young, and I do like Fuentes. It's just he's young, and when you're young, I did the same. You have a tendency of black-white thinking. The world doesn't work that way. And Trump is doing way too much good, and again, he's not acting against America. And we need people like that in Western Europe. Every single one over there is being put in place to destroy and really destroy the nations and the entire.
And then every time they're about to elect a Le Pen, or AFD's about to win, or Romania, they cancel the election or they arrest the person. Absolutely, we need to understand that Trump is just a manifestation of what we need everywhere.
Yep, that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
No, I was interrupting you. Really smart lady. Anything else you want to add? I mean, what do you think we can do to then put pressure, just expose the bad people in the Trump administration? What else can we do?
Look, we have an incredible advantage in this country because of the alternative media. We do not have the equivalent to a Joe Rogan and Alex Jones, a Candace Owens. We don't, Chris Kirk. We don't, what's his name? Chris Kirkland?
Tucker Carlson?
No, yeah, Tucker Carlson, of course. But no, our guy here in Texas, I can't get the name right now. Chris, the young guy.
There's a lot of people. A lot of good patriots.
Chris. Okay, but we have, the point is that we do have these kind of people, and we don't have that in Europe. You don't have that because they're systematically shutting them down.
Yeah, for those that don't know, in Germany, just recently, college kids will go to another country just for a pro-sovereignty, anti-EU meeting, and they're arrested when they land in Germany.
Yes, you get not arrested, you get fined when you put a thumbs up under an article that is not wanted. You know, you're going to get a fine. There's a woman that got fined 1,500 euros for that. This is what you're looking at. Who wants to live like that? And it's not even, this is not as bad as it's going to get. It's going to be nasty. In 27, they're going to have the digital euro in Europe for everybody. That is when the door is going to close, and there is going to be no way out of this. That's it. That is going to be the digital concentration camp, and they're going right at it. Right now, they're already starting to do the digital euro for companies. When you want to start a company, everything has to be in digital euro. It's a disaster.
Total control is what they want. And as you know, the EU and others, their bureaucrats have all said, we're going to use this to control your behavior.
and then they're going to do whatever they want to do with you, and that's the end of that.
All right.
So the EU was put in place to kill Europe, and the UN is there to do the rest.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan. Amazing points. Brandon and others, I'm going to go to more of your calls, and then at 5 after, we're going to have Owen Benjamin on. And then when he leaves us, I guess if you want to stay on hold, we can call you back. We'll get to the other callers. I will get to everybody here. I want to get to Brandon and Moses and Will and Gary and Zach and Kevin and others.